think, with the stealth check, in order to successfully ignore armor, that was kind of the key. So I think that that kind of ties into it a little bit. Yeah, I think there's some possible ways to go about shapeshifting. I think that you can have one set at a certain level, every few levels, and you guys are used to that. But who's to say we can't come up with something better, like an evolving form, or the ability to choose different forms, So I think we'll probably discuss it pretty heavily, and then try to test something out. Because obviously it'll be tested anyway to kind of get it just right for damage and defense and things like that. But I think as long as you guys have the shapeshift ability, and there's some kind of cool flavor to it as far as the strength of it, of each form, or the form, if there's only one form, then we're good, and then everything else we can kind of play with, I think.
Speaking of band-aids, do you think that's why they created all the extra wolf forms? Because they didn't have that in DF1. You just got up to your level 16 one, and that was it.
That's a good question. I think ultimately it was staff wanting to provide wolves with anything, beyond level 60, and areas were getting higher. Player characters were getting higher levels, so it only made sense.
Yeah, I mean, totally makes sense. Aw, your dog's all crying.
Yeah, that makes sense, Mike, to have different options. I just don't want it to be. I don't want it to be too. I don't know, too much.
Uh-oh. Looks like it's broke.
Stop farting, God.
Yeah, but it just says you fart whenever you fart, so... Little broke.
No, I put it in that way. I don't know why.
Oh,
I did that on purpose.
Okay. Yeah, it's my purpose. Totally not an accident.
No, literally, if you open it up, it says you fart in every line.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure it says that, but I think...
Stop being such a jack.
That's not possible.
Wow. Are you talking about a striated crystal staff? I think the striated crystal staff was the only one that was ever made zero wield. Yeah, the bone staff was like 350%, so that definitely wasn't that one. I'll find it. Hold on. Okay, maybe I can't find it so quickly. All my logs so far show it in chat rather than the actual item itself. So I'm seeing all chat logs, so I'll keep looking. Yeah, that's it. It was just a glowing striated crystal staff. So just change the enchant. I don't see it as another name.
Dark Knight staff. Huh, well, that's an idea. I'm not sure if it's a good idea. Maybe you would or could have it so that different quality of items would show up different colors.
Sure. Mike, get right on it.
God.
Bend to our demands.
I wish you could he would have had a command like in it, like you could tell it to not to be wieldable by Daleth.
Yeah, the Berserk, the good old Berserk bug. That's something that we've been discussing a little bit. We have some ideas to kind of update it a little bit for Berserk and avoid any kind of silly bugs. Just a little FYI.
Glyph wants your Skype info.
Skype info?
Yes.
Well, what we were discussing is Berserk itself would be changed to a passive skill, and it would function similar to Adrenaline move, where you would enter kind of a Berserk state, and what it would do is it would increase certain stats and decrease certain stats. Obviously, being attack power, regeneration rate, and he'd lose evasion by about half or so. So ultimately, you know, we want. It's not set in stone or anything, but I like the direction it's going, so it's likely that we will test it out in some form in that manner. I think that on the whole, berserking as an attack was not well thought out. So little things like that I think would help improve it greatly. That's a good question, Nix. I can't answer that. It doesn't exist. So you can enter the state, and you know, I figure maybe, I don't know. It makes sense that you should be able to leave the state, maybe. But I think that if, as a berserker, thematically, if you choose to go berserk, you should have to deal with the consequences for at least a little while. So I think ultimately, there's a timer that starts when you enter berserk stance, if you will, and that will diminish over time naturally. So I think that tweaking the right amount of time for that will kind of give you the effect of, you know, stopping your berserk stance. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's not going to, you know, last very long. So I think a good skill like that if we can create it based on DFC and Darkness Falls, is to take a skill and really just flesh it out some more. So I think that a skill like that should have multiple facets to it. And Berserk really kind of lends itself to be a passive rather than an actual attack. Obviously, it can work as an attack, but we like the passive a lot better. And you know, it'll have some bonuses for damage and regeneration, because you are a troll. Trolls are famous for regeneration, so we felt it fit pretty nicely. So it'll make Berserk a little more, I don't know, more interesting, a little more deep as an ability skill. You know, in certain situations, you know, you can gauge whether or not to use it, so you kind of stand off and just relax and melee and smash, basically. And you know, you see an opportunity, if somebody fumbles on you, then you go berserk and destroy them. So I think that was kind of the idea for the attack, you know, the berserk skill and the attack. But the, you know, if you whiffed on somebody and when you berserk attack, you were dead. You know, if they had any means of, you know, doing damage to you. So anyway, that's just a short look at what we're thinking about for something like Berserk. Yeah, so that's basically what I meant. You know, so when you have, you know, it may not be true for things like melee or double or breath attack, but I would like the same thought to go into it so that it scales, and that each end gives you different results, and that it matches the scaling pretty nicely. So yeah. Otherwise, we're forced to say, okay, how do we fix Berserk as an attack? You know, we'll see. Okay, sorry about that, Don. I'm not meaning to ignore you or anything. So I can whisper you my handle on Skype.